Hey everybody, it's Sarah from Sarah Softies here. I am going to do a tutorial on how to make envelope pillowcases. You've seen these before online. I am going to be releasing a lot of new supplemental patterns coming up with these pillowcases used to match the patterns I already have out. They may be free with purchase of patterns soon. They may be free to the people that are on my mailing list. We shall see how all of that works out. But in the meantime, there are directions in the pillow form or in the pattern of how to make these. But it is a lot easier to me to be able to see and watch and follow along with somebody. One of the first things you're going to need is the cover. This is going to be the cover we're working with today. You'll notice it is quilted. It is an 18.5-inch block. Whatever, if you've got some spare orphan blocks and you want to make this pillowcase, awesome. Super good way to do that. That's what these are. These are spare blocks left over from a quilt. And I put a layer of batting and some muslin, really cheap. It's really cheap. Put that on the back, and then I just quilted lines, guys, just super simple lines. This is my top, the front of the pillowcase. The back of the pillowcase, the pattern will tell you to cut 2 pieces of fabric. I like to use something a little thicker, so this isn't quite as thick as duck cloth, not quite as thick as canvas, but to me, I like using something more than just the plain cotton I use for quilting. That I just feel it feels safer to me. But you can also use any fabric you have left over, any scraps. They need to be at least 18.5 inches wide, this direction. And you'll have 2 of them. One will be 18.5 by at least 10.5, and the other one 18.5 by 12.5. I always overshoot. These are 19.5 wide. I don't know, just something around there. As long as it's bigger than this block, you should be set. Now, note that they do need to overlap the back of your block, okay? And I probably should use 2 different colors, but these overlap several inches, all right? There's a several inch overlap, and that is so when you decide to use your pillow form, and I've got one right here. If you have 2 different colors, it's easier to see, but that is so when we'll talk about closures at the end. So you don't have to have a closure. It's just like this, and then your 18-inch pillow form fits inside. I just cut muslin to about 18.5 inches, fill it with all my scraps, and I'll show you guys that pile in a minute, and then put it inside. And we'll discuss different closures at the end, but there does need to be a little bit of an overlap, okay? Now, once you've done that and you've got your 2 pieces, if they have a directional fabric, you want to make sure when you lay them out that you pay attention. So one of them's upside down and one right side up. Like that last pillow you saw, one's upside down, the other one's sideways. Actually, one's right side up and the other one's sideways. Yeah, we're not going to talk about it, okay? Just don't talk about that. But I'm going to run mine through this quilt foot, which creates a little tiny seam. If you don't have one of these, it's super easy just to fold it over 1/4 inch or so, iron a line, fold it over another 1/4 inch, iron it, and then top stitch. You can do that just fine. That works as well. I like this one because it gives me a finer little line. I am going to use black thread on my black fabric. I have in the past used colored threads, so you kind of get like that pop of color or whatever you want. This one's gonna be super simple. I'm using black on black, and I'm trying to get it to fit in this little foot here. There we go. And then I'm gonna run it through. All right, be right back. All right, so that's it, give or take a little bit. You got your 2 little lines, nice little hem. You're gonna lay it. Oh, now you need to decide how you're gonna close it. you have two ways you can close this quilt, or this top, this pillowcase. There we go, that's the word I want. Well, technically three ways. So the first way is to do nothing at all to it. And that's what I did here. It's just an overlap. Just sits there. That's it. Just overlap. It's overlapped. It's good. I did the little tiny seam on this one. It's all set. Guess what? Works just fine. Another option is this way, where I sewed a ribbon onto the top flap. See? Just sewed it on there. Just a little piece of ribbon. Hand sewed a button down. Doot, doot. Hand sewed a button down. And in order to do this, I actually sewed this piece together before sewing these two on, just to make sure I had it all lined up. That's another way. Third way you can do it is the way I did this pillowcase. Because I like having options. I put a button on it. So it depends on how much overlap you've got and how much you can get away with. I have a button foot on my sewing machine, so I was able to just put the button that I wanted. It creates the button hole the size you need, and then you can button it closed. I may go back and switch some of my pillowcases that don't have any closure and put a button on them. It's fine. It's more work afterwards because now you gotta take the pillow out and figure all that out. But that is one of the options. And my interfacing is coming up. See? Super easy. You make your decision of how you want it closed. I am going to do a button on this last one. Boom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the longer piece. Oof, that took me a second. Way too long. The longer piece, the thicker piece, I guess. Find the middle. There we go. That's the middle. I'm going to take a little marker that I don't have prepared yet. There we go. This is a black quilt, so I'm going to use a white marker on it. And on the right side, I know I have told you don't mark on the right side of your fabric, but we're going to cut that spot so nobody's going to really see it. But on that crease, I'm going to put a little line. See, just a little line, just a little one. Then I'm going to put on my button foot. I'm going to pick out my button. Oh man, the buttons I could choose. But let me do that. That button foot is a whole nother video and a whole nother setup. So I'm going to put on my button foot, pick out my button, decide, or actually put the buttonhole in my top here, my little piece. And then when I come back, you will see how the rest of it goes together. How's that? See you soon. All right, guys, I got my little buttonhole sewn on here. So if you are doing a buttonhole, do it now. It'll be a lot easier later on. I've got my top, my front of my pillow, laying all nice and gorgeous, covered in little tiny strings, because that's how I roll. I'm going to lay the button side down. They're the one with the buttonhole, so buttonhole side down, right side fabric to this. So because this is where my beautiful seam is, I'm going to turn it around. So the right side of my fabric is facing down. Then I'm going to line up down here along this edge, and you see I made it just a little bit bigger. So if you want to make it a little bit bigger, that's fine. That's just because I am not perfect and I like things to give me wiggle room later on. Button side down. Then you take a button hole down, right sides together. There we go. That's the words I want. Now I grab my other one, right sides together as well. Center that. Look at how beautiful that looks. And then here, I like to grab some clips and whatnot. These are my little clover clips. I have all the sizes, y'all. All of the sizes. And I like to throw a couple on, especially where these meet and where the bottom one overlaps. And this is for my own sake of mind, because as I've mentioned multiple times, I am not perfect. I don't expect any of you to be as well. I'd rather go a little big and trim down whenever I can. So that's that side. Let's get down here, throw a couple over here. Don't ever sew over your needles and or your pins and or your clips. Always move them out of the way before you sew. Very important. So now I'm gonna flip this over so I can look at it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this over to my sewing machine and sew a straight line about 1/4 of an inch or just over, and you can see not everything over here is perfect, so I want to make sure I catch the ends of these lines. That way my quilting doesn't come out later on. I am going to go all the way around. You don't need to leave any opening to flip it inside out because that's what this pocket is for. All right, so you can sew all the way around it. I would make a special note when you sew all the way around, any spot where this overlaps, sew over it, be like dee back and forth a couple times. So I will sew back and forth a couple times at that spot, at this spot, here, and here, just to make me feel better about myself and my sewing skills. I will also go stop 1/4 inch into the corner, and when I am done, I will clip the corner so it turns around a little bit easier. Again, that's up to you. Nobody's really gonna notice or care. Nobody's gonna turn your pillow right side, inside out, so they can see if you've clipped your corners properly because your corner's not puckering perfectly. If they do, kick them out of your house. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Anyway, I'm gonna put this on my sewing machine. I'm gonna sew around, going over these spots a couple times, and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so I've got it all trimmed, ready. I even trimmed my corners because I was feeling like super motivated or whatever. But we're going to take it, we're just going to turn it right side out. Easy, so easy. The envelope method is so easy. Poke your corners out. I'm not a perfectionist, so I'm not going to get out a little tool to poke my corners better. If you want, you're more than welcome to. Just don't judge me and I won't judge you. That's how I roll. And then look at that. You can iron it if you want, but you'll see where the little hole is. But one of the things I would recommend is to fill your pillows. I like to do 75% stuffing that you can buy at most stores and 25% fabric scraps. I have a bag of fabric and batting scraps that are too small for me to use for projects. Y'all have different sizes and options of what you consider too small for projects. You can make that decision on your own. I would not recommend putting like big pieces of fabric. If you are going to use anything like this size, cut it up smaller and use it for filling pillow forms. I'm going to rip up some muslin to 18.5 inch squares ish. I'm gonna sew 3 sides, well, 3 in like all but like this much. Turn it right side out, and then stuff it with my stuffing and batting scraps and fabric scraps, whatever I happen to have in my giant bag of, these are too small for me to reuse, scraps. And I also throw my strings in there, so it makes it nice and soft and fluffy. It also reuses, which I absolutely love. I'll take that pillow and I'll shove it inside this pillow form, or inside this pillowcase. Or you go to the store, wherever, preferably your local quilt shop, and buy an 18-inch pillow form, already created pillow. You can also get them at IKEA, Amazon, other places like that, but I highly recommend supporting your small business nearby and buying from them whenever possible. But I'm gonna put, that's upside down. I'm gonna put my little pillowcase together. You know what, maybe I want it to be like this. Who knows? We'll see. My pillow, judging by my button, it should be like this. But you know what? We'll see how I'm feeling when I finish it and lay it on the couch. My child's already said that she likes this because she really likes the fabrics on the front. She wants to put it in her room. We'll see how that works out because it does go with another quilt of mine. So thank you very much for watching this video and this little quick tutorial about how to make the envelope pillowcases. I hope it helps. If you have any other questions about any of my patterns that you've seen, whether I've offered it for free or you've bought it from my website or from my Etsy, wherever you found it, please let me know if you have any questions. I would love to help you. Most of my patterns are beginner friendly, and I just want everybody to enjoy this as much as I do. So, thanks for joining me. Bye!